Hi, everyone. Welcome to MMO and Education Hangout. My name is Chris Lukes, and I'll actually be talking a lot this time. So I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to Kay, and then we'll go to Kay will introduce herself, then Grid will introduce herself, and then Leanne will also introduce herself.
Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to our talk on MMOs and basically all the reading that goes around with them.
Good morning. I'm Tanya Martin, and I'm here to kind of listen mostly today. That's it.
And I am Leanne Teisling, and I am going to be talking about the literacy demands of MMOs and some things that I've been exploring. I'm at Boise State University.
All right. So for a really quick overview, we're going to talk about what is an MMO. We're going to talk about the readings and research that are out there. We're also going to share some parting thoughts at the end. And so really a day out for today. So feel free to follow along and post questions as well in YouTube. So we'll see you guys online as we keep on going. So first of all, what is an MMO? Everyone's quiet. So basically,
I thought you were going to say.
Anybody can. This is open forum.
Oh.
So basically, an MMO is a massively multiplayer online game. So the keywords there are massive and multiplayer. And of course, there's also online too, hence the 3 letters. So these are things that we're looking at as far as what we're looking at and how they apply to education. So these are sort of give you an idea of some of the larger MMOs that are out there. So EVEOnline has 500,000 subscribers. World of Warcraft has 7.4 million subscribers, down from their high of about 12 million. Minecraft has about 100 million registered users. So these are people. Minecraft's a little different. Minecraft is very much giving you a look at some of the different ways and sort of the broad definition of what an MMO is. It is massive, it is multiplayer, and it's online. So Minecraft has 100 million registered users, and they convert roughly 14.3% of their free users to paying customers. So that's about 14.3 million subscribers that they have. Now, Minecraft is a little different because with Minecraft, you're only going through a one-time pay. So Minecraft you only buy once, whereas EVEOnline and World of Warcraft, they have monthly subscriptions that will go ahead and have users continue to pay month after month.
Okay, I did want to mention something here. I know we're going very basic, and so we're talking about the different subscribers and how big different things are. For Minecraft, that's right, it's free. It's free once you get it, but you might spend money to have your server hosted. And there's also hosted servers out there that charge for people to be on them. So it is possible, depending on what you're looking for, whether you end up on a server that someone built that's free, or whether you end up on a server that perhaps someone has spent a lot of time and effort into planning events, doing builds, gathering a community. So there's different options even when it comes to Minecraft.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is they're a little bit different. So and so this sort of gives you some size comparisons of those. Sort of sometimes numbers don't really give you the scope of it. So EVEOnline, 500,000 according to the 2010 U.S. Census. That's roughly the size of Tucson, Arizona, or Fresno, California. So Tucson's a little bit bigger, and Fresno's a little bit smaller, and EVEOnline is just right. So the other thing we have. And so the other thing we have is World of Warcraft, 7.4 population in the entire World of Warcraft. New York City is 8.1 million. And then if you add up the cities, now this is not the metro areas, the cities of LA, Chicago, and Dallas, you get 7.5 million people. So that's a lot of people online. Again, some of them were not necessarily always online at the same time, but that's a total number of subscribers we have. With Minecraft, that is 100 million. Well, that's the third of the U.S. population. In 2010, we were at 308 million. So that's what we're looking at here whenever you're thinking about these numbers, these massive numbers that are out there, the number of people that are out here on these games.
Okay, so what you're really trying to tell us here is that when we talk about games, if we're talking about these massively multiplayer online games, what we're talking about is huge amounts of people playing the same game at the same time, right? And depending on which game you're in, whether or not they're all playing really in the same online location, right? So if you have to think about this, it'd just be like living in a city. If you have this many people in one place, you have to start thinking of infrastructure, roads, sewers, public health, things like that. So when this many people are online interacting together, it develops a culture, right? And an infrastructure, even one that goes over what the game is doing, right?
Exactly, and so there's a lot of different things that go on in the game. And so how do they handle this large chunk of population running around? Well, games like EVEOnline and World of Warcraft 2 are very proprietary, are very much doing the hosting work, providing the infrastructure, as Kay alluded to, providing the water, the sewers, the transportation, things like that. What they have developed is something called sharding. And what they do is they actually will break everyone out into little realms. And so what you can see here with Kay sharing her screen is that there's lots of different realms that are out there, and they all have different populations. So another way to think of this is that the game itself is kind of like its own little country, and the different realms are actually the states within the country. And what it is that you can pick your main spot. So these realms are very very exclusive. Once you're on a realm, you're basically stuck there on that realm until, unless you want to do a paid transfer. Now, World of Warcraft has done something where to sort of help low population servers, they have actually started merging some servers together. And so what that has allowed people to do is sort of to just get a better average population. So in real life, when you start having problems of having too much space for too little people, you start going through the issues like what Detroit's going through, where they're annexing pieces of the city, so it's no longer considered the city of Detroit. Whereas in games, it's much easier. You simply just merge a low population realm together, and then what happens is you just do the work behind the scenes, and so the people can interact seamlessly with each other. So each of these different realms are actually different little pieces of the game. So the game stays the same and is continuous across the realm, but the players that are in the realm are very much specific and tied to that. So that's what you're seeing here on the screen with all these different realms that are out there and all the different population lists that are there. So there's a lot of different people that are out there. There's a lot of different server sizes that are out there, and it's just a matter of going ahead and finding the one that's right for you. You may, when you first enter these games, you may want to start yourself at a smaller server, and then work your way up to the more massive and the more robust servers that have lots and lots of people in. It's the same thing in real life. Sometimes you prefer a quiet country setting. Sometimes you prefer the hustle and bustle of the city. Same thing applies to games. Each different realm has its own culture, has its own feel. Because the other thing you see there is if you look at the middle of the realm list, you see the type of realm. And there's several types of realms, and they set the tone of the server. So a normal realm is the normal gameplay. It's something that you're used to when you see games, is that you go against monsters and you sort of follow quests and things like that. Role play is exactly that. You actually are playing a role. So people may be affecting a tone, they may be affecting a language, they may be using different things, they may be keeping in character to varying extents. And then you have PvP, which is player versus player, and this is more of a free-for-all environment. Everybody goes after everybody, so it's more of, for those of you that are more familiar with first-person shooters, like Halo or different things like that, you form a small team, and it's you against the world. So there's a lot of different things that are out there that you can see from the sharding and from the population distribution areas. So now, that was EVEOnline, and that was looking at EVEOnline and looking at World of Warcraft in particular. This next slide really shows you a little bit of difference, and that's Minecraft. Minecraft's a little different because what Minecraft does is that Minecraft goes ahead and really focuses on selling just the software piece. So they sell you the software piece for you to install the game on your computer. Now, if you want to play single player, you can just work with what you got. However, they do offer a multiplayer format. And once you have a multiplayer format, that's when it goes into this MMO side. And so what's interesting about Minecraft is that it's lots of little servers. So you as a player, if you want to host a multiplayer server, and this is it, all the multiplayer sites out there are typically hosted by players, you can do that through a third-party hosting service, or if you have servers of your own, different things like that, you can go ahead and host your own. Typically, you're talking about servers in Minecraft. Typically, you're looking at 10 or less players in a Minecraft server, but you can get larger servers. I just saw an advertisement from one site that was selling sort of an unlimited slots, a limited number of players on their third-party hosting server, and they were charging a per player, per head tax, where basically they charge you by the head. So the number of players you have, you get charged that for the month. So those are things that they play around with. So you can't have very large Minecraft servers, but on average, Minecraft servers, they're a lot more fragmented. You have a lot more smaller servers, and a lot of times it's just friends sharing their servers with their other friends. So you're seeing groups of 10 or less. So that's a big difference from what you saw with the Minecraft and the with the World of Warcraft and the EVEOnline, and that is that they have much larger servers. You have tens of thousands of people in these servers, because the difference is on Minecraft, you're looking at optimizing your play for yourself. The player goes ahead and picks their favorite setup. Whereas in a game like World of Warcraft or a game in like EVEOnline, the company itself is providing all that hosting service, and what they're doing is they're looking for finding out what's the optimal number of players that makes it less, that it really gets them the lowest per player cost, and so but still allows them to have the performance that they want. So that's really sort of the difference. So you see the difference optimization. So that's how they're handling all these different populations. The different
Chris,
size. Yes.
I have a question. I often wondered. I mean, I have the World of Warcraft screen on now with the realms and the choices, and at the bottom you have your United States, Oceanic, Latin America, and Brazil. And I often wondered, could I be on one of those servers? Like, let's say I wanted to learn Portuguese. Could I play on a Brazilian server?
You can. Now, the one thing you would have to do typically is you would have to uninstall your English version of the game, and you would have to go ahead and install the Brazilian version or the Chinese version. So you can pick different servers. I mean, there are on the U.S. realm, there are players that are in Australia, that are around the world that do choose to go to the U.S. population servers. There's some U.S. players that decide to go to the Asian or the Oceanian realm. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. But typically, the crux of the matter is if you're really trying to do that immersive language experience that you're looking for, you're typically having to delete your English version and then downloading the appropriate language version.
And then, of course, I'm wondering about time zones, because I had a friend who was going to be working overseas for a while, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to wait till I get there and get on the European server, because if you get on the United States server and you're on a different time zone, there won't be anybody around, or the population will be lower." Correct?
Yeah, but that's more of a differences in time zone thing than it is it's whenever you get on, because day for of course, as everyone knows, is that day for one area is not necessarily day in the other. But the biggest challenge you'll have if you're logging in from a non-North American site is that when you go on to so say if you're in Europe and you're trying to get onto the U.S. server, there'll be a lot of lag, because you just think of the number of the distance you have to ping from Europe versus in the U.S.
Okay.
So there is an issue. There is a tax you pay by being far away from the server that you want to get on, and usually what that is that's lag. That's slow ping rate. So you'll have a bit of lag, and then you'll see that some people that's just part of life, and others are just they would just go ahead and they can't deal with that, so they go after whatever the local server is. So that's basically the big difference between the two. I mean, there is sort of a discouragement. You can do it, but sometimes there's a little discouragement of trying to get you to jump countries. But yeah, you could do it.
Thank you.
So as you've been seeing on some screens here, characters, avatars, and tunes, these are all something that's also very common in MMOs. So everyone gets to go ahead and develop the characters. And every game has different levels of variation and customization that you can do. So what you see here on the screen share is you can see that you can go ahead and create a character and different types of characters that are out there. And basically, World of Warcraft allows you to do some modification. EVEOnline gives you a bit more modification. And Minecraft, well, you have kind of lots of modification because you can go ahead and download what are called skins in Minecraft, and that can be your choice.
Actually, the modification in EVEOnline, you really don't see your character other than at the beginning. You normally just see like little shots of them. And I mean, my EVEOnline character, I really like the look of it, but EVEOnline, well, it gives you an avatar and you do play. It doesn't have the customization, I would say, of World of Warcraft or modding skins in Minecraft.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Yeah, a big difference is in World of Warcraft, you do see your character, but for the most part in World of Warcraft, the typical view of your character is basically you're staring over their right shoulder and you're staring at their back the entire time because you're always running forward. You can change camera views, and that's fine. EVEOnline, yes, Kay's absolutely right. You get to see you get to play the avatar initially. You get a little headshot that reminds you that you do have a humanoid player. But most of the time in EVEOnline, you just see your ship as you're going around. And with Minecraft, you typically see you can modify it, but again, with Minecraft, it's all 8-bit graphics that are there. So you can see you can change different races. Typically, all the games have multiple races you can choose from. There's different classes, so different roles that they play within the game. So like healers heal, tanks will keep the boss's attention away from the group, and the DPS are the people who do all the damage. So those are things that you see. There's a lot of different options to play around with. You can adjust hairstyle, you can adjust facial features, you can adjust skin tone. So there's a lot of different things you can play around with in these games that help you sort of pick and customize your character, because that's really one of the things that really lends to the stickiness of these games is this avatar creation. A lot of MMOs players do spend a lot of time modifying their characters, going ahead and changing the outfit, going ahead and adjusting the hairstyle, going ahead and playing around. Maybe they don't like it, they get tired of a race and they want to make a new race, so they go ahead and they switch to a different race and they pay for that service. So there's different things that you can do to sort of personalize the game, and that's really what that's where that sweet spot that a lot of games go after is, so that way people can go ahead and play with the different characters and play with the different tunes. I mean, we all have different favorite characters that we play, and different roles that we play, and so the games allow us to sort of match what our what our needs are when it comes to what do we want our character and how do we want to be represented in games. So there's a lot of different things, little different pieces that are here, and that also the culture comes to play, gender comes into play. There's a lot of different things that come into play here as far as character choice, what they want, and basically the customization of the avatar. So the other piece that a lot of these MMOs have, and like I said, we're just sort of running through what an MMO does and sort of giving you some of the background, and then we'll start talking a little bit more of the educational side of things, is the socialization structure. In games like World of Warcraft, in games like EVEOnline, there is an advantage of pairing up, of socializing, of getting into a small group or a larger group with everybody else. And the games do a lot to really sort of push you in that direction. One of the ways they do it is the dungeon and raid finders. These are things that the reason for doing dungeons or doing raids is to get better gear. You get more powerful gear, you get better gear. You also get status items like titles, like achievements, like mounts. There's different things that they do to sort of entice you to engage in the social aspect of the game. And this is another hook that MMOs have for players that keeps players coming back, is that social structure. And so you can come in, you can pick different groups. There's chat features there. You see in the middle picture, there's a lot of different chats that are out there that people can have access to. You can also create your own chat, so you can share that chat channel with your friends. So that way only you and your friends see that chat channel. You can also ignore channels if you don't want to hear what other people are saying. You don't want little you don't want the text constantly popping up on your screen. You can also ignore those things. So there's a lot of different things that you can look at. And typically in a game like Warcraft, it shows up in that lower left corner of your screen. So you sort of see the green, different colors for different things. So green is guild chat, white is just general text that everyone's talking that anybody can see. There's also different text for different parties that are set up. And the last structure you see is the one that most people are familiar with from MMOs, is the guild structure, the idea of you join a group of people. So you can see here is a shot of the guild group Inevitable Betrayal, who are helping us out today, and have always helped us out in a couple different series that we've done already. So you can see there's guild news, there's announcements of achievements and gear and different things that people have looted and got in game, so people can celebrate their successes. There's also a roster there that shows you the different players who are on. You can also see that you're one of many. You know, we are Legion. You can see that we have a lot of different players on. In this case, there's 266 members of this guild. You know, there's different perks to be part of, that you are part of a guild, so therefore you get different perks. So different advantages of being in a guild, besides the social context. You know, then there's also the cultural piece. I mean, the Inevitable Betrayal Guild, they do a lot of sharing of resources. So if someone needs leather or someone needs cloth and someone has it, typically they're happy to go ahead and help their fellow guildie do things. So there's lots of these different socialization structures that are out there that really sort of get people together and really sort of help them go and play the game together. You can solo in these games, but most people do not find that very satisfying. That's not the reason why the games are sticky. It's not the reason why games are attractive. It's just a solo. Some people are wired to be soloists, but the majority of the players are here because of the social aspect. Whether that is collaborating with people, or for some people, it's being antagonistic against other people. So there's trolling too. So the late Robin Williams was also well known for trolling people in World of Warcraft on his server that he was on. So there's a lot of things that you can do and have fun with and experiment with. So not only can you experiment with the positives of social aspects, for those that are looking at abnormal behavior or want to look at some antisocial constructs, you know, those things, just like in real life, also exist in some games. So there's lots of different areas for people to look at. There's lots of different areas for people to study. So these are just some of the basics that you see here that we wanted to get out so you guys can look at and see what's there. So,
Chris?
Yes.
Before you go on, you might be addressing it in the user interface, but you talked about communication and the majority of the communication being in text format. Are you going to talk about the audio, the voiceover communication at all? If you could.
Actually, I wasn't going to include that, but yes, I can definitely speak to that. Yes. So what Grit is talking about is she's talking about the various audio programs that we use, that gamers use, to go ahead and communicate with each other beyond just text. And so typically what most players are using is Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, and what they're using are software systems like Ventrilo, Mumble, TeamSpeak. World of Warcraft itself actually has a very rudimentary voice system, so you could actually use WoW to go ahead and communicate with players. Also, a lot of players are using Google Hangout, just like we are, and they're using Google Hangout to go ahead and communicate with each other, share screens, do different things like that. So it looks like Kay's pulling up Mumble right now, so you can see that's sort of what one of those looks like. Basically, it's a really quick, light software that interaction. You have to have a headset, you have to have a mic to work better. Some people use standalone mics and speakers. That doesn't work all the time as well. But there's different things you can go ahead and play around because of feedback and things. So, but yes, they definitely have a lot of spoken. There's a lot of talking going on. There's definitely a lot of communication that's going on. So you're not stuck to just chat. You can also engage people in spoken communication, but they have to be in the same place you are. So you all would have to be in the same Mumble channel, the same Ventrilo channel, or in the same Hangout. And players do. They will send out Ventrilo information for if you're joining them in a raid or you're joining them in a dungeon. Some will require it. You must have Ventrilo. You'll see different advertisements that come out when people are looking for players. They'll say must have an audio component. So, and you can see that right now. Kate's pulling up the People Finder, and you can see that there are some different pieces here that they will specifically say that you must have vent in it. So you can tell them what they need to have. So, like the one that's currently up, basically is showing you that there is a vent requirement. So those are things that you can see. So there is also that spoken communication as well as, and verbal communication as well as written. So next up we have the user interface. You've been seeing a little bit from the different pieces and that we've been showing, and you can see here from this screenshot that there's a lot of different things going on in the screen. You can also look at everyone else's screen as well. That there's a lot of different pieces. So the basic pieces, and again, here's the fun thing about these games. If you don't like the way the interface looks, you can actually download an add-on and change the way that the interface looks. So they do have customization of user experience as well. So those are some things you can also play with these different games. There's a lot of that modification that they allow you to do. And so that's what you see here on the screen. The screens you show, you have your normal play surface where you can see what's going on in the game content. You have an action bar area where these things, any buttons you click on will go ahead and generate a specific activity. You have different inventory or bag slots that are over here in the bottom right. So there's a lot of different things that you see on the screen. So you can see, so Kate's pulling up her screen right now. So so you can see the different pieces of the game in live. So so one of the things you see is you can see the bags, you can see the action bars down below. You can see the different menu items that they have in the middle of the screen at the bottom. That sort of shows you where your character looks like, looking at so you can check your gear, different things like that. So there's a lot of different information that's here. Yes, Chris.
No, it's Leanne. One of the things that I like to talk about when I'm looking at this in relationship to students and students in our K-12 system is how very complex this visual display is and how they have amazing reading skills based on being able to see what's important and collect data. I'm a fairly recent player in World of Warcraft and, well, games in general. And at the same time I was doing this, I decided to play one of the other brain training games, that's supposed to get rid of Alzheimer's and fend that off. And what I found was that the game interface was more complex and was, I think, training my brain better than the game that was designed to train your brain. I also know that the military is very interested, and several international corporations, businesses, are really interested in hiring gamers because of their ability to handle these kinds of complex literacy tasks.
Definitely, and that's one of the interesting things about the interface itself is I deal a lot with online students, and what I find interesting is that I will see students that can master a complex interface like these MMOs, but yet they still struggle with basic web navigation. And so it's kind of interesting to go, well, navigating an LMS or navigating a learning management system, but then you go, wait a minute, you guys play WoW, or you guys play League of Legends, or you guys play all these different other games that allow you to go ahead and do this. So it's interesting that you see differences there. I mean, I think one is you're very engaged to learn how to use the system, or the other one maybe you're a little bit more apathetic.
Well, and I also think as an educator that we need to be mindful of that students don't necessarily automatically transfer skills until somebody like us says, you should think about this. And my friends here on Hangout with me know that I've done this with my son, who is returning to college and having to face some really tough math courses in his major. And it wasn't until one of our guild members said, well, that's just his gaming skills. It's the resilience and persistence that he's learned in gaming that needs to apply to that. The moment I said that to him, it was just a physical response he had. He sat back and said, oh yeah, I could do that. And it immediately gave him a sense of confidence and accomplishment that he knew that he could apply those skills. Hadn't thought of it before.
And I would like to say that, yes, we have to, just in education, and I'm an instructional designer, we have to have more discussions about design, okay? Because with our LMSs, I really have to, and this is just my opinion, that there's factors of motivation and expectations. Doing an LMS is a lot different. Trying to get to that assignment is a lot different than actually getting an achievement or accomplishment in game. They're really designed differently, and the expectation you want from your LMS is to be really easy to navigate. And to be intuitive and to be logical, not for there to be a known issue, and that's the reason why you have to download a PDF where everywhere else on the web you can just click on something and it'll automatically come up. So I think there's a difference there. I know we were having a focus in instructional design arena about universal design and making things easy and formatting and standardization and everything like that. And that's fine, but there's a whole world, and you see how many people who are involved in it, and a lot of those are our students who are working on extremely complex tasks online, and they do it because they're engaging and they get a sense of accomplishment from it, and there's so much from that I wish that we would take over into the instructional design of our online classes.
I agree.
Well, I think that's one of the big things. The other thing I noticed a lot is in a lot of our educational classes online, we are not visually rich in our presentation of information. It's very black and white. So I think that's also, it would be really beautiful to be able to come up with a solution that gives us that multimedia experience as well. And that's the things that you see. I mean, you have great visuals that engage you. You see a lot of things that go ahead and engage the player and immerse the player. I mean, but the thing is books have done the same thing for a really long time. So engage your imagination versus seeing what someone else's the fruits of someone else's imagination. So there's a lot of different things that you see here that are dragging, that are sort of really drawing players into the games. And once they're there, they stay there. So that's that stickiness I was talking about before. Is that, for me as an administrator, what I see is that I see a lot of students who they get into the class, they get busy in the class, they're very motivated at the beginning of the semester, and then what happens is they start drifting off. They start losing their focus. They start start seeing that attrition as students start dropping out of classes, and that's the challenge as an educator, particularly online, is how do you get that student to re-engage and come back. And the instructors that are able to do that on a consistent basis are very unique to do that, but the same also applies to in-classroom instruction. As an in-classroom instructor, the big difference, though, is online, the students don't log in. They don't have to log in. Whereas in a face-to-face class, they don't have to go to class, but there's also a bit more, there's also that peer pressure piece, too, as well. So it's they know they're going to be missed in a face-to-face class, whereas in an online class, sometimes they feel that they're not going to be missed, and that's not true. Your instructors will miss you and notice that you're not there in either format, just like your guildies will in these games. And like, hey, you haven't logged in for a while, and so that's the different pieces that are there. So we wanted to give you guys a really quick rundown on what an MMO was, give you sort of a feel for the different pieces that these games offer. And so now we're going to move into the more academic side of things, and we're going to start talking about the readings and research that have happened there in the game itself, and looking at these different games and seeing what's out there. So first of all, we're going to start in-game. So all these games have different pieces, as you've been seeing, is that, so where are players looking at? What are players doing? And what are they reading and what are they looking at in-game? Well, one of the things they're looking at is they're reading quests, they're reading chats, they're reading journals. They're looking at the help pieces. And so here's an interesting thing that what Warcraft does. They've developed what they call the Dungeon Journal. And what the Dungeon Journal does is whenever you read it on a specific boss or a specific enemy you're going to attack, they actually will give you pointers of what you want to do to go ahead and survive the encounter, and different tactics that people can go ahead and play around with. So for instance here, they're saying for tanks, hey tanks, guess what? You should make sure the boss is facing away from the raid when he does this one ability. And then the other thing is that, you know, hey, damage, DPS, who may have lower health. Look, if you see Swirl coming, which is another ability of the boss, you should try to run away from it if you can. So there's different things that you see here that they're giving you different tips and techniques for how to go about being successful in the game. So there's lots of pieces that are out there. There's lots of things to play around with in-game. So there's lots of things that are there. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Leanne.
Okay, well, I have been interested in literacy events within the game. I'm a professor of literacy at Boise State, and through my 3D game lab and my WoW Guild have gotten really interested in what kinds of literacy events our K-12 students are involved with. And I've been quite surprised by some of this. We just had article published, not we, but there was just an article published in Wired Magazine about, can you learn to read through Minecraft? I think that the literacy events are really quite demanding in these games. For example, I've done a readability estimate in World of Warcraft, just the quests themselves, and they run at about 890 lexiles, which is approximately a 4th to 5th grade reading level in the new Common Core estimates of what kids should be reading. In the prior estimates, and those of you who aren't involved with K-12 education, some of this is going to be a mystery, but they've tried to make kids read more complex text, more difficult text earlier. And so on the old system, that lexile level would have been for 6th and 7th grade reading. Also, the map reading, the graphics, the icons are all literacy events that are going to be assessed by the new assessments for Common Core, and thus they become fairly important. Okay, Chris, next one. So these are just a couple of examples of the kinds of quests, the kinds of reading tasks that appear within World of Warcraft. On the left side, we have just a simple quest that occurs fairly early in the game, and you can see that it has quite a bit of text in it. Now, kids don't necessarily have to read this. There are some features within gameplay that make it possible to avoid reading that. But as teachers, if we begin to, as I was talking about earlier, help make that transfer and get the students that are playing these games more involved with the actual narrative, I think we can do ourselves some real favors. There's a story that goes with my son and his gaming friends. I went down once and asked them about how much they were attending to the backstory in their games, and this bunch of 20-year-olds just laughed out loud at me. But now I know that I need to start that earlier and ask them when they're in 2nd, 3rd grade, what's the story behind this? Anyway, the panel on the right is an example of students having to do comparison and some abstract thinking, and maybe to go to one of the metagame sites and check out what kind of equipment they want. in this one, what I was looking at was the rewards in a quest and trying to compare it to my current gear and decide which particular reward or loot I wanted versus what I actually had. And this is a case where I would have decided just to get the loot for the money because it wasn't as good as the equipment that I already had. But this level of thinking within the game is extremely complex, and I think it relates to making purchasing decisions in the real world, making comparative decisions on political events or social events. It has lots of different applications in real world literacy tasks. Okay,
Oh,
next one.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
Leanne, I was going to agree with you on the financial literacy. One of our guild members is a financial counselor, and he's done some of these hangouts with us already on exactly how you can look at financial literacy, and he's written an article for the Virtual Education Journal on the financial literacy portion of that can be done in this game.
Okay, so on the next screen, I'm getting busy vending loot here. This is another online game, and this one is not a multiplayer game. It's just a singular web-based game, but I think it also shows how these in-game quests can be designed thoughtfully to help develop literacy skills. This is from the Mission US series, and this one, and Chris, you can go to the next one also. You can see the language is simplified. The company putting this together is focusing on developing vocabulary in the social sciences. And so they've been very mindful about embedding definitions in the game. For the MMOs that we play, typically those definitions aren't available in game, and that you have to go to the metagame sites to get that kind of definition example. And often I find I have to talk with my guildies and ask them, you know, what is this all about? Okay, Chris, next slide. So the second type of in-game text that I have been really interested in is what's going on in the chats. And I see lots of applications for real-world tasks. That there's a lot of abbreviation, there's a lot of almost text talks kinds of things, and this is very important as we're move through our world, that we be able to do this kind of shorthanding now that we aren't learning shorthand any longer. I think it's also really vital, yeah, really vital for all of the careers that require brief messaging. And I have a daughter right now who's working as supervisor in customer service for a cloud-based service company. And she and I have been having really ongoing discussions about what their teleservice people need, the kinds of literacy skills that they have to be able to respond to the emails, to conduct online chats with customers that are, her company services the entire world, and so they have to be able to communicate with second language people that are calling in for help. I've been struck increasingly by the number of times when I'm asked or required to participate in digital conferences like Hangout here, and the skills that are involved with, good heavens, being able to read and monitor chats while I'm narrating a PowerPoint presentation. And you guys really taxed me one year, or this summer, in one of the EdWed chats. I think we had 4 different chat screens going on.
Yes.
Yeah, man, that was hard. Anyway, this increasingly is just an employment skill. And then because I work a lot with English teachers, they're really worried about, you know, what this is going to mean for writing. And I give them an example of a teacher that presented at a conference I went to that uses this kind of chat or text speak as a pre-writing activity for students before they go into more formal writing forms. As far as readability demands in this, people have to learn these kinds of unique vocabulary terms like farming rep that you see here, inviting locks. Who knows what a lock is? I didn't until about a year ago. You also have difficult text structures to work with. They don't follow any of the structures we typically teach kids. And then as far as educators looking at these for younger students, we also have some digital citizenship issues that come in about using mature language filters and knowing when to leave a conversation. Okay, Chris, can you go to the next one?
Being distracted, remembering all the conversations there in the guild chat.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that a nice little bit of history? So this is a screenshot from Minecraft, which, as Chris had pointed out, is becoming this hugely popular game internationally. And I'm going to have to tell all the adults here, I was really shocked this week. I was talking about this presentation in one of my undergraduate classes of future teachers, and I just happened to have a small section because of some timing conflicts, and out of my 14 students, 2 of them just lit up because they are avid Minecraft players. And one of them said, you know, you are the first professor in all of my education that has mentioned Minecraft. And I know that there are lots of educators that are looking at Minecraft as a way to teach science, to teach math, to teach physics. I think teachers need to just understand how powerful this gaming stuff is in the lives of our kids and some of our future teachers. Anyway, you can see that the Minecraft chat, Minecraft itself does not have a lot of text on the screen, but the chat itself is very complex, and the article in Wired Magazine talked about how very young users are challenging themselves coming up to be able to address that complex language that occurs in the chat. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Sure.
Or am I still talking?
No, we're good. We're good. So now we're moving on to outside of game, also known as the metagame. So these are things that gamers will go after, where they're going outside of the game. And so a lot of this is very similar to the same thing that you do for any trade or for any profession that you're in. To learn more about it. So a lot of gamers are visiting forums, discussion boards, YouTube, fan sites, official web pages, unofficial web pages, theorycraft sites, FanFiction. And so one of the things here that you want to pull out is theorycraft. Theorycraft is interesting in that a lot of games have the math and statistics that go on behind the game analyzed by players. And that's where theorycraft comes into. Theorycraft really is the study of optimization within the constraints of a game. And so what will happen is you will have in-depth studies. You know, you'll see calculus, you'll see integrals, you'll see lots of stuff that people will go in-depth and deep dives in statistical analysis to look at how and what is the best talent, what is the best skill, what is the best weapon, what is the best combination of attacks that you can use to maximize your performance given the role that you play. So that's what theorycraft is. You know, FanFiction, obviously, that's become very, very popular. It's been very popular for quite a long time, actually. And this is where fans themselves continue on storylines in games or create their own storylines as part of the games. So YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google, and it has a ton of video, learn to plays, basically showing people how to do specific things. So lots of things that are out there, forums and discussion boards. God, man, they've been around since the internet started. So I mean, those are all things that are out there that players are using to go ahead and find information that they're looking for. So there's a lot of different pieces that are out there. There's a lot of different things that players are gathering information and grabbing information from, so that way they can go ahead and choose. So one of the things I'm going to pull up real quickly is one of my favorite sites. See if I can find it. To go ahead and pull that site up. And so what you see here is one of my favorite sites, which is WoW Auction. And I play a lot of teaching business, teaching accounting. This is an area that I really like of the game to utilize. And this is looking at the market side of the game to see what's going on in the game and how players are interacting in a business context, that epistemic frame of business. And so this is things that you see here that you can go ahead and you can track volume. You can see what's selling, what are some of the higher level pieces that are out there. You can see what sells based on profession. You can go ahead and get a feel for what does the market look like. So for this case here, one looking at the popular mats that are out there, the popular bargains. So there's it's looking for arbitrage opportunities to meet where people are selling lower than what the normal price is. So there's different pieces out there that you can see what makes sense. And so if you click on an item like scallions, you'll see that it gives you a chart. You can see what it is, and it gives you a quick overview. It gives you a realm history, so you can see what the price, how the price tracks versus quantity. And then you can also see quantity down here at the bottom as well. So there's a lot of information here for you to pull. This information, it refreshes every 15 minutes on the website, so you're seeing a lot of almost real-time tracking. And this is for World of Warcraft. It's almost real-time tracking of the economy in this game. And actually, I was part of a pilot program where we actually did use this type of information in an econ class, looking at intro to microeconomics, where students got to play around with and look at the market forces that affect pricing. So it allows them to go ahead and play around and do a simulation and do different things to try to find equilibrium and the balance. So there's a lot of different things you can play around with. This is something that's showing you the sale of this particular item over the course of a week. So there's a lot of things here that you can go ahead and look.
Okay, and I'm going to share my screen for just a second because Chris has been talking about a lot about individual. I'm going to show you here real quick. Is going to be something it's called Guildocs. And when I scroll up, yes, we are in a political campaign time, so you can see political campaign things coming across. But basically, it's a free service where I can go and I can look at the rank of every guild that is running the high-level endgame content, and that's called raids. So the guilds, the groups of players who are doing the highest and the most difficult work out there, I can go and I can take a look at, and how Chris was explaining about realms and different groups and how people are populations are divided up. I can go in here and look at the different realms, and usually it's no problem picking a realm and then trying to find out who exactly on what realm are the people who are achieving the most, and then also how quickly people are achieving it. And a lot of this, and because I'm one of the raid leaders, is I am constantly going onto this to see exactly where our guild ranks among other guilds. And there's a lot of other people who do things like this too. So again, it's back to the statistics. Always figuring out if you want to get a higher guild ranking compared with the rest, and this is of the world, you are constantly making decisions about what endgame content you're going to run, how quickly you're going to get it, and how this will affect your ranking compared to everyone else.
And then I'm sharing my screen at a different kind of meta site. This is Icy Veins, and this is more of the individual user resource, and what I can do here is go to the class that I'm playing and get information about how to play optimally. It tells me what order I should perform certain actions in. It will tell me what gear I should get next. Oh, and it has a cute cat picture on it too. These are sites that individual players use constantly as reference material for the game that they are playing. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and there's a lot of different sites that are out there that you can grab and look at, that you can pull information from. It looked like that. Unfortunately, Leanne, your screen wasn't necessarily sharing during that time, but I have it up on mine,
okay.
so people can look and see.
Okay.
I believe you were on your Balanced Druid, so so you can see there's a lot of information here that was provided, and this is all created. I mean, that's the thing about it, is a lot of these sites are third party. A lot of these sites are fan created. Another big website out there is something called Wowhead, and Wowhead is a very extensive database of the different pieces and different equipment and gear that drop in game, and players provide that. Players will download an ad and they will share. They'll allow that website to mine the game while they play. So there's a lot of different things that is out there to go ahead. And what's interesting about this is with Icy Veins, if you look at it, they go ahead and they always have a credibility check here on all their guides they write. They say, look, our guide was reviewed and approved by this player, and he's one of the best players in the game, and he raids with this really, really prestigious guild. So, and so they're trying to give that cred so they can go ahead and say, look, this is what we're doing, and this is why you should listen to us. So yes, cite your sources and look at your credibility. So there's lots of different things that you can learn from these sites. And again, it's up to you what your preferred learning style is, because not only do you receive it in text like this, but they also have video as well. So you can go ahead and see different pieces to look at, and different things to start to see the fight. You can also see that they also have breakouts for different bosses as well that are in the game. So different hard fights in the game that they provide guides on and tell you what you need to do, and share of information. So there's a lot of different pieces that are here that players can choose from and click through. And as always, there's always the big fight for eyeballs. So people try to have the most up-to-date information. They try to have the most easily consumable information. So there's lots of things that are out there. Sure, go ahead, Graydon.
I think what struck me is with all these sites, our students go in general to go someplace to read, to research, get an encyclopedia, a book, a site. But with all these sites, you are a consumer as well as a contributor. So our students, regardless of their age and ability, they can contribute. And that's really a big distinction. Like, not only are they going there and getting information and reading it and using it, but they are also able to contribute and be productive. And I think that's kind of a really interesting distinction in all these sites and forums, and some of them are probably up there rated and ranked.
I agree, and that's part of the importance of the new literacy researchers talking about the read-write web and how it has changed the publication that we used to talk about. Kids now can become internationally famous by their work on these sites.
Well, exactly, and that's the interesting thing about games, is that it really does allow anyone can be an expert in the game. I mean, if you log enough hours, and if you are informed enough, or you explore and care to make yourself an expert in that field, you can become an expert in the play of the game. And so it's just a matter of playing around and getting comfortable with the interface and really sort of doing that deep dive.
Okay, I would put a caveat on this, okay? Well, we're talking about kids being internationally famous and anybody can be an expert. You have to have a digital footprint on the internet to give you the credibility of that. Because I will tell you, I have seen in forum discussions with World of Warcraft, at any point in time, and anybody who feels like bringing this up, go ahead and pull this up on the screen. On any point in time, you can go ahead into, it's called WoW Community. And you can, if you have the character name, you can look up any character, find out what level they are. You can, you can find out what they've been doing, exactly how they, what achievements they have, what kind of skill level they have. And I have seen in forums where people have posted in discussions giving opinions where someone else has looked up their character and said, wait a second, you're a very low-level character and you've never done what you're talking about. So there is a digital footprint, and while you might be able to be an internet, you might think about it being an internet star. Trust me, being an internet star is a little like going in politics. Somebody's going to Google you and Google you a lot and go, wait a second, you're not who you're not who you claim to be. So you have to have this credibility factor with it too. So you have to have a digital footprint that if you're going out there and claiming something that that proves it. Because anybody on one of Chris's theorycraft sites who might be showing the math and the calculus to do something, I better be able to go over on that site on Guildox and see that that person has that they have done that particular scenario or fight, because I'm not going to believe them otherwise. So I'm just saying, and I'm not the only one. So I'll let it go.
No, and I think that's really important to think about, because what it means for students is that the audience for their work is no longer a teacher or a parent or a professor. It becomes the world. And that, you can't get by with doing shoddy work if somebody's going to call you on poor writing, poor communication, inaccurate information. It really changes the game in many ways.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing is that you see a lot of is, like, on the theorycraft sites that I visit, is it's funny because you will see all-out math fights, and it's hilarious because they'll go ahead and they'll argue, well that's not the formula you should have used. You should have used, and it's kind of fun because where else do you get to see statisticians fight each other? It's kind of funny because they play with the math. They introduce their mathematical models. They introduce the caveats. They allow people to attack assumptions, and they play around with it. So I mean, it's interesting to see that type of passion. That a lot of people don't necessarily associate with as a teacher of accounting, I appreciate this, because most people go, oh, accounting, how can you be passionate about accounting? And it's like, well, yeah, you can be. It's just like you can be about math, so you can be about every other subject. It's kind of interesting to see that in a public forum, like these discussion boards that are out there. So this really ties in well with our next slide, which Lynn will talk about the different levels that she sees on a couple popular metagame sites that are out there. And yeah, I mean, I can say that the discussion becomes starts becoming at a very high level. It can accelerate very quickly.
So these Lexile levels, the estimates of readability that the Common Core is using to kind of benchmark where we want kids to be operating, all of these levels on the different meta sites that I evaluated here are fitting within late high school or college career ready levels that Common Core is suggesting that we aim for. So, Chris, next slide. This is just an example. This is the WoW Wiki, and you can see that if a junior high student, and World of Warcraft is rated teen, so it's very common for us to have late elementary, early junior high students playing this game. I've actually had second graders in my literacy lab that play this game. Need to use these resources to help them play, and the folk wisdom in this is that kids are indeed stepping up to the plate to read this material. Now, that's really quite a jump, and I'm cautious about the claims that people are making about young kids reading this material. I do know that with background knowledge and with a real purpose for gathering information from a site, the kids can handle text that's a lot more complex than they want to read. But the Wired magazine article really focused on two elements of reading that become really important, and those are motivation and and I forgot the second one, engagement, or a purpose for reading or being part of a community. And as a teacher myself, I know that kids that are motivated to read something, that are engaged in it, that it's part of their community culture, will take on text that is much more difficult than they should be able to read. And again, I go back then to the idea of transferring those skills into more academic tasks. And that's why I think teachers need to play these games, so that they can understand how to help kids use the skills they're acquiring in-game to the other kinds of tasks that they would like them to complete. Okay, so Chris, the next slide. The next slide is an example of text from another MMO that's fairly popular, Guild Wars 2. This had been predicted to be the new thing, and I don't think it's quite lived up to the expectations. You can see that the graphics on this site are much kinder than the ones that we saw on the WoW Wiki, and would give the impression that it would be easier to read. And it may be just because they're doing a nicer job with presentation and formatting. But actually, when you do the readability level on this site, it is higher than the WoW Wiki site. So I think it's interesting to think about how the graphic interface and the infographics that are being presented in these meta sites also come into play in looking at students' literacy skills. And the next slide, Chris. This next one that Chris is going to bring up is an example from the wiki that supports Minecraft. And again, this one just boggles my mind. I know how many very young kids, preschoolers, kindergartners, first graders are engaging in Minecraft. And this is the wiki that helps them figure out what to do to get started. And again, this is late high school, early college reading. Now, what I expect is it's probably the parents or their family that's helping them read this. But that is a scaffolding into more complex kinds of literacy tasks. And when I look at the screen, I look at all of the digital skills, the text structure. You've got contents on both the left and the right side. You've got navigation bars. You've got advertising that you have to ignore. You have hot links that you need to decide whether you're going to follow or not. It's a very much more complex, but also somewhat easier task than the kinds of research skills that we have been teaching in schools. And Chris, is my FanFiction next? Or no?
And I just wanted to jump on because I can only speak anecdotally. but my friend's 8-year-old, okay, goes onto that wiki site and he finds stuff. And I will tell you, while my friend is a microbiology professor, he does not drag her over to help with that text component. he's doing it all on his own. And I also know that sometimes, you know, when I might be doing a little babysitting in my office, I watch him, and he is doing that, plus he on his iPad, his mom's iPad, he has the video up, and he's doing his research, and he's just doing great. And oh, and we also have a quote from our guild, because while we're showing you all this, our guild is also watching and playing in World of Warcraft, and we have we have one of our guildies saying, "My 9-year-old daughter is listening and just said, I agree. I think teachers should use Minecraft because kids understand games." Oh, and then I'm reading down in the text a little lower, and then it's also saying, and because Minecraft rocks. Smiley face. Okay. So listen to this. Not only kids are reading, playing, watching videos of Let's Play, but they're listening to academic discussion about ratings, okay? So these games, it'll get kids to do just about anything. That's all I have to say. Okay, I'll give it back to you, Leah.
Okay, so I want to see if in YouTube we have kids from across the country that have tuned in. So this last screenshot just demonstrates the flip side of literacy. As a literacy professional, I am very much aware that, as we talked about with the idea that students would be going in and being contributors to these metagame sites, there's a whole nother world of literacy events that appeals more to people that value traditional forms of literacy, and this is the fan fiction community. And this is really a kind of a separate part from gamers, but I think it's important to be aware of how important writing about the video games that they're playing is becoming to gamers. This is the just one part of the fanfiction.net site, and I'm looking just at part of the listing of games that people are writing original stories based on the characters and the settings within the games. You can see that you have 5,600 stories or novels or whatever on Minecraft. The World of Warcraft is just called Warcraft within that site. You have an equal number of people writing stories, scripts, anime, comics based on Warcraft. And there's been, in my community, a lot of discussion about this practice of fan fiction, about, is it plagiarism? Are people taking the easy route out? And I, as a literacy professional, I have two things to say about that. One, that pastiche is a time-honored literary tradition, and in fact,
let me go.
You guys are,
yay,
you're laughing at
it.
And even on TV right now, two of the most popular shows on television, Elementary and Sherlock, are based on the original stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And one of my favorite fiction series by Laurie R. King is also based on the Sherlock Holmes character and another character. But why is it when professional authors do pastiche, it's fine, but when kids want to write about their games, are we somehow robbing them of their voice? I don't think so. Go ahead.
Leon, I would jump in something, because I'm a pre-video gamer. What I mean is, I played Dungeons and Dragons in high school, and the dice rolling, create the quest, where you could go and purchase someone else's story, but a lot of the time it was much more fun. My high school was spent going through mythology books to find the characters and look at different types of stories, and then writing up the quest that the group that I played in would then go play. And I mean, to me, fan fiction is like that.
Well, and I want to speak about the other part. I work a lot with kids that have literacy challenges. I am responsible for part of our literacy lab at Boise State. And I was, as a writing teacher, I was initially hesitant about using, ages ago, a program called Storybook Weaver. And, having my purist vision of kids becoming, independent authors with their own voice and their own visions. I was hesitant about letting them use that because I thought it would rob them of their voice. And what I found with third graders when I was working with them is that didn't happen. What happened was that it simplified the writing for my challenged writers, the kids that didn't want to write, and it scaffolded the writing process so that they could focus on telling a story instead of worrying about characters and about setting and about all that other stuff that a writer has to create. And my low ability writers ended up producing, like, by orders of magnitude more sentences than they ever would have. And then on the other end, my high-end kids learned to nerf, whatever, you guys will come up with a better term for me, but they learned to hijack the format. And if they had something to write, they would figure out a way to get the images to work within the writing. And so the things that I worried about didn't happen. And now there are much, besides the fan fiction sites and encouraging kids to participate in these, there's some really slick writing communities online. You talk about online multiplayer organizations. Storybird is just an amazing place for young kids in a safe environment to go public with their writing.
The thing of that, I was going to say, I was going to just riff a little, that we're seeing a lot of that in Machinima now too. That some kids are writing it and getting their friends to play the different roles. And I know we'll be doing Machinima later, but they are doing some of them are doing the writing. Some of it's not all extant. Yeah, and I'm now learning that this is that I've stumbled upon a segue, so I'll get off mic so someone else can talk.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, exactly. And the fan fiction is also leading. It's not just happening in the literary sense as well. I mean, you're also seeing it move into our next slide, which is Machinima, and Grid's going to talk about a bit like Machinima and seeing how people are using film and how are they using screen recordings to tell a story and to create different content.
Yeah, and then a great follow-up to what Leanne was just talking about, because this is a way that students can write, produce, create their own work. It started as Machinima started from the gaming world, where people were capturing strategies and their epic moments in game and then doing a screen capture, posting them on YouTube and other video sites, and sharing with the world, what they had done. And it has sort of evolved into a way that people can capture what's on the screen and then create a different story about it. So they can use the visuals, and the visuals are in World of Warcraft are absolutely stunning. I mean, I don't know if you want to look at my screen, but here I am in Pandaria. I can turn off my UI and look at that. Is that not just beautiful? As I look around, beautiful Pandaria. And a lot of times when I talk to people about Machinima, they have this vision that it's all violence and killing and going around and doing all this shoot 'em up stuff, and certainly there's a lot of that in games, and World of Warcraft has that, but there also has this other aspect, and the graphics are beautiful, and we're not graphic artists, and we may not be able to recreate this, but we can write a story and we can make a movie by using screen capture, using voiceovers, using music, being cognizant, of course, of all the copyright issues, and that's something students need to learn, and then creating a movie. So ISTE does sponsor actually the two networks, two professional learning networks within ISTE. It's the Virtual Environment Network and the Games and Sim Network sponsor a Machinima fair every year at their conference, and this is a Machinima fair or film fest, for lack of something better, a film fest made in-game for teachers and students. And every year, you know, we get a group, and every year it seems to get a little bit bigger. And these students and teachers are creating videos in a game to teach a concept, to demonstrate their understanding of a concept, or just to write a story. And how to get started, if you go to the next slide, and here's the steps to, if you want to do Machinima in your classroom with your students. First, start talking to your kids about the games that they play. Learn how to play, and play, as Leanne said, all teachers should be playing these games. Get some screen capture software and capture it, and play and learn while you're doing that, and then ultimately, you know, apply that learning with your story, with that Machinima, and post it on YouTube, so or Vimeo or any of the other video sites. And I would hope that this would generate some interest in having folks enter the Machinima Fest, which will be June 2015. Minecraft, you know, any game, of course, would work. I just happen to be in World of Warcraft, and I think Pandaria is probably one of the most beautiful places I have seen digitally. And I'm farming here. This is the farmland. I'm not even killing anything.
No, we're both farming. No, the comment I made to Grid was that what I'm also encouraging is for teachers to kind of do some remix and let students use specifically Minecraft to create environments to do their book reports in. And I know that science teachers are also talking about using Minecraft as a way to help students represent learning about science and physics and other concepts.
So kind of in place of the shoebox diorama or the hangers with little pieces of paper hanging off of them?
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess because this is something I've been talking about for about a year now, is that Chris wanted us to talk about a bit more, and I did mention it. It's and he put second screen here. Maybe it's not a second screen, but what it is really our students trying to get as many multiple sources for research as they possibly can. And while this is one of Trisha's students who happens to have the Minecraft book from her desk in his lap as he's working on Minecraft, our students are constantly pulling up things, and even us. Think about it. You might be watching TV, but you have your iPad or your iPhone there, and you're checking on something. You might be, you know, like in this while doing this presentation. I know a number of us have two screens, so we can bounce back and forth and look things up and stuff. There is, and students are beginning to become fluid on more than one screen, so having more than one thing up there. And I do want to say something back to Leanne when she was talking earlier about how having to learn the skill of talking and being on camera and doing a presentation, yet looking at other channels that are going on. I grabbed one of our communications professors to talk to them about it, because in online learning there's been a lot of discussion about, well, you can have someone, you can be live streaming someone on video doing perhaps something like a lecture, but they need an extra person to be able to read the back channel. And I'm a little suspicious of it, because I think some of us can walk and chew gum at the same time. And so I grabbed one of our communications professors, and I said, is this doable? And she said, it's like a teleprompter. And she goes, politicians have to practice it. They have to practice being able to read the teleprompter, you know, and look out of the corner of their eye at the teleprompter and know what's going on, and they often have earplugs too, with somebody else telling them something so that they can get answers to questions. But they have to be able to do that and be on camera and look like they're talking to the people, you know, look like they're talking to the camera all the time. So this is actually a skill that our good politicians, our politicians who are good communicators are already using. So this is, you know, this is not beyond the pale to think of it that this is going to be a literacy. So I just wanted to mention. So Grid just typed in. So we're training the next group of politicians. I'm not sure about that. But perhaps, you know, we're training students for the world that they live in and that they will live in. That's what I think we're doing. Okay, so with that, I'll get off mic and let somebody else.
Well, I think it is. I think also it speaks to the fact that now a lot of us are doing the, hey, one monitor is great, but 2 monitors is better. And so I mean, I think that's the other thing. I think a lot of people are, you know, don't know how they could live without 2 monitors. So there's a lot of different things that you see here with the second screens, and you know, a lot of it's the pricing of things coming down, becoming easier for us to go ahead and get that second screen, whether, as Grid mentions in our chat here, whether it's your phone or a tablet around us, there's definitely always a second screen. And I can remember running things whenever, you know, when I was running virtual conferences, and I can remember having my computer with the thing with the main character up, and then I'd have 2 or 3 laptops off to the side, and either flanking my main monitor that I would have different alts up that were providing tech support and different things like that. So I mean, there's lots of different ways that you have one person, but I'm multitasking and splitting my personality between multiple players and trying to provide customer support to speakers and guests. So there's a lot of different things you can go from.
And I will tell you, Grid just typed in the back channel is common, and I believe Leanne typed in, are you seeing a therapist about that, Chris? Okay, but what I wanted to mention, and I was trying to show it here on my screen on the left-hand side. While we've been doing this broadcast with you, a number of our guildies have been asking questions. And we're taking turns going in there and answering the questions, and then congratulating achievements that is happening and things like that. What I wanted to say, go back to the back channel. I will tell you, in a face-to-face conference now, where I am sitting and just listening to one person, and I am politely and quietly sitting and listening to that one person, and I have to wait 45 minutes until I can add a question or hear anyone else's comment, I feel like I'm kind of getting communication deprivation. And the reason why is I'm used to, if I'm on a webinar or something like this, getting from multiple places and getting comments from multiple places. So even there might be one main speaker, I can get comments from lots of other people, get references, you know, people will put in links, and I can get information from multiple places rather than waiting for one person. And I will tell you, some of the conferences I go to have great Twitter back channels, but then there's other conferences I go to that the population doesn't use Twitter. So I just end up sitting there, and if I want to make a comment or do something like that, or hear someone else expand on it and take it further and give lots of other references, I have to wait 45 minutes. And I know Chris has used Twitter in his class, as a back channel, so that when he's had to go through things, that he was then able to have the students, doing the dual screen thing again, doing the explaining whatever problem it was or explaining whatever policy, and have the students start piling up questions. So the minute he got done with the explanation, he could then grab the questions. And Chris, you being an associate dean is really killing us in the classroom. You need to get back to the classroom. That's all I have to say.
No, that was fun. Like I said, I really enjoyed doing that. That was fun having a Twitter back channel, because a lot of my students could ask the questions in the moment. They didn't have to wait until I was done finishing my point or whatever. As soon as they had a question, they could post it into the Twitter channel, and everyone could see it. And some of my more advanced students could go ahead and answer them if they felt like it. Otherwise, I could always go back and answer that. So that was always a great back channel for that. And like I said, it is challenging. It takes a while. It takes a while to get used to that. So as we're moving forward, I realize we've kept you guys all here a bit longer than we anticipated, but now we're wrapping up into the further readings category. So some further readings that we went ahead and decided to put in really small font. So we're going to stay on the slide for a bit to allow you guys to, you can always pause and look up some of these different pieces. But yeah, there's quite a bit of really good articles in here as well, especially relating to Leanne's point when looking at literacy, looking at writing, looking at what's going on there in the games as well. There's a lot of different. There's also a bunch of other reading as well, but we really did sort of try to have a more focus on the literary side of games. But obviously there's lots of other research out there on the engagement factor, on looking at the different epistemic frames within games, pieces to go ahead and focus on little pieces of the game that really sort of model a specific area that you want to have a focus on. So, Leanne, do you have anything in particular you'd like to pull out of this list that you think is really good? One article they could read.
Oh, I think one of the things that's happening is it's hard for people to stay up to date, and I just am not finding a lot of people in the literacy community writing about this. And so I would say anybody that has this interest, I think most of our professional journals need to hear from us, and that would be get my writing down too. I'm complicit in that we just really need to give some focused attention to this in the field. I do think Donna Alverman, in a variety of publications, and this is just one, is really trying to capture where kids are and talk about it in relationship to how we need to really change the way that we look at literacy practices and what we teach in school. And I do have a concern that the authors of Common Core didn't quite get that message. They refer to digital text, but I don't think they understand it. I don't think they understand the reading, writing practices within the Web 2.0 or 21st century communication, or whatever you want to call it. And I think we have a long way to go.
Leanna, I would agree with you on that. I've been working on a project on information and technology literacy for the last 2 years, and I'm seeing that we really do have to tease things out so that people understand it better. And I think you're right about this is for the researchers and the scholars. Please get writing. Yeah. We absolutely do need more. And actually, at the Games Moot, Hannah Gerber did do a talk with us, so I will look for her hangout that we have, so that we can put that out there too. And if it's okay with you, these further readings and recommendations we'd like to put up on the SDA site. And yes, we will let everybody know that it's the bibliography that you found for us. Actually, that will give us more credibility.
Now I'm going to have to go back and do this a little more seriously.
No. We absolutely need this. Here's the thing. We absolutely need people realizing what's going on with games when it comes to research and reading. And on the math side, we absolutely need to be showing that more, because when I look at the math Common Core, there is so much in there. Probability, simulation, all these different things, that the examples that they're giving that give your students this problem compared to what a player has to do in World of Warcraft and lots of other games when it comes to math. Giving the student the problem, the example they give is, oh, if you buy a lottery ticket, what are the chances that you will win the lottery ticket given this, this, and this? I mean, every time our players go in there, it's like, okay, based on my equipment, based on past experience, based on the research I've done on all the metagame sites, what's the probability that we're going to get this down, and what numbers in my equipment do I need to change and play with to increase the probability of taking care of this monster? Is our students are doing this on a daily basis.
Well, and I'll speak again to Grid's comment in response to my claim that we need to have teachers play more games. I have been quite open with my professional community about getting involved with this gaming, and my 2 adult children keep on telling me to stop talking about it. They say, what happens in game stays in game, Mom. And they say playing World of Warcraft is really nerdy.
It's okay. They can join an educators guild. I hear the educators guilds out there. We can segregate the teachers, okay?
Yeah. Anyway, I think that until my son, who's 25 now, has been an avid video gamer since he was in 2nd grade when I gave him his first Game Boy, and that until I started playing 2 years ago, I didn't understand how he could be so engaged, how he could spend so much time doing this, and what the positive effects of it were. And
you thought it was like TV, right?
Yeah, I did. And and that was a big surprise for me. My physiological reaction to playing the game. You know, like if I sit in front of the TV, I fall asleep. If I come and play games, I can keep myself awake well past the time I should be gaming.
Yeah, because it's
and I see you guys online too.
Yeah.
And and as I talk about this, and I talk about our guild, and I talk about the opportunities that are coming to me as a professional because of my work in this area, it just makes my colleagues are changing the way that they're thinking about this, even some who also have children in the game. And they're beginning to really understand that this is like this huge and important piece in motivation and literacy development that we have to take advantage of. You know, if you believe in the idea that you go from the known to the unknown, if the known that our children have is video gaming, we have to know how to move from that into the unknown.
And I think that's a big thing that you're emphasizing that I'm really liking, Leanne, is you're talking so much about the transferability. And we do have a lot of people who are talking about go into this game and learn this, and the students will start getting computational thinking. You are really talking about how do we transfer that skill from gameplay where it's so robust into academics.
Well, and we know that transfer does not happen automatically or easily. And my example from the old world of literacy, I was working at a high school, and a student that I had been working with note-taking in an AP history class. And this was a brilliant young man. I was down in the language arts department standing at the desk, and he came up to me and he said, you know, Ms. Teisling, I've know that you worked with us with, you know, Mr. Whatever's class. Mm-hmm. I do remember whose class it was. I just don't have his permission to cite it. That's right. Yeah, and he said, you know, I've got this term paper I have to write for English. Can you give me any ideas? And it was the other way. He said, I have to write a term paper for the history teacher. Can you give me any ideas? And I looked at him and I said, well, you know, everything that your English teacher has just been telling you about writing term papers, you're supposed to be using that in history. And he just looked at me with this stunned look on his face. And this was a smart kid and really wanted to succeed. And he didn't make the transfer between learning term paper in English and writing a term paper in history. Mm-hmm. And so if there's all this great stuff that kids are doing in gaming and we aren't helping them see how to apply it, we're really losing out in the potential that our kids bring to us.
I think I definitely agree. I think that you've definitely leaped into our next section, which is the parting thoughts. So I almost want to just leave on that. That's really good. You know, I think so. So I mean, the only thing I would add would just simply be, it is really important to, if you want to use games, you want to learn more about games, you need to get into games. You need to experience them yourself. You need to find the pieces of the game that really speak to you, and that's how you're going to form that connection. And that's when you're going to see the link. If you're somebody who doesn't see the link between games and education, it's there, but you do need to go ahead and take the leap. Take the steps to immerse yourself in, and as you begin playing, you'll start seeing where that connection and that intertwining is. Games do a great job of scaffolding. Games do a great job of introducing complex topics in a very manageable, chunky way that players and your students can learn. And it's something we can definitely take. I think we definitely need to do a little bit better job of in education. Is really sort of finding a better way to make our content more easily digestible for our students, and to draw those linkages. I think you're absolutely right. The fact that we have a lot of students that don't see the connection across the curriculum, where they think they go into a business class, they go into a history class, and they think the English, the things they learned in composition doesn't necessarily apply. So I think that's excellent. So thank you all for watching, and thanks to everybody for helping make this webinar happen. Happy Connected Educator Month. We're about halfway through it, so we're heading into the home stretch. So I think that that's what we're going to call it a day. So thanks for watching, and goodbye, everyone.